Hey friends, it's Kate from Venison for Dinner here, and my crew was fishing the Kitimat River a couple weeks ago, and boy did they bring home a pile of fish. So we had chum salmon for smoking. Don't quote me here, I'm pretty sure we got pinks, and then a spring. Don't quote me, this is a Marius question here. Anyhow, so lots of salmon canning in our future, which is a different video. I'm going to show you how we smoke and can them. And this video, I'm going to show you all about how we make smoked salmon jerky or smoked salmon candy, which is absolutely delicious. So buckle up, friends. We're going to start with some filleting, and then we'll move on to how we cure and smoke the candied salmon. I'm going to link for you a full video on how to fillet a salmon that Marius did a couple of years ago, just to keep this video short and sweet in case you already have your salmon filleted and you just want to get to how you candy it. So this is a pink salmon, I'm pretty sure here. Don't quote me on my salmon identification, friends. It is not my strong point, much to my boys' dismay. All of these notes will be in the description for you, but we're starting with 5 pounds of salmon cut into strips. About a 1 inch by 1 inch and 6 inch is what we like. So for that 5 pounds, we have 2 cups of cane sugar and 2 cups of sea salt mixed together. So we start in a container, and we quickly realize we need to be using a scoop, not our hands here. But we put some sugar and salt mixture on the bottom of the container, and then we're going to start with our first layer of fish. So we layer them, they're basically touching, not quite. You want a bit of salt and sugar to go in between the layers. If you do them too small, they easily get too salty. So this is kind of a magic size we find. It's gonna sit for 8 to 12 hours, too much longer and it gets really salty. So it's kind of a balance there, but we find doing it before we go to bed and then getting it ready for the smoker first thing in the morning. So it's a fairly heavy layer, but we are gonna rinse this all out. And we're doing this as a dry brine because then it pulls moisture out of the fish to cure it and to make more of a salmon candy. So this different color here is salmon fat. It's gonna be delicious. What?
It's incredibly good for you.
Yes.
And it's delicious. It's my favorite part.
That was just the perfect amount.
Find out tomorrow how it is. If I get another nice chum, maybe we'll try candy chum.
The fish is all tucked in bed for the night in cooler, and then first thing in the morning, we will get dealing with it. This is admittedly other fish we were smoking, not the candied salmon, but stick with me here. You're gonna rinse it all off and lay it out to dry for about an hour. Ideally, this is on like cookie cooling racks, but friends, we do not have that many racks in our house, so we just use towels and it's good enough. Again, just make sure you wash the towels right away, otherwise it's really bad.
This is fun.
The fan is blasting away here. Let's see. So you can see what you're looking for is a tacky surface. So it's not quite there, but this stuff is just getting canned. It's not as particular about that. Whereas this stuff here is getting smoked. Like this is getting smoked and then canned. This is just getting smoked. I actually have to run the dog to the vet, and so I'm not gonna be home when Marius is getting this in the smoker, but I asked Mac if he could film for me so that he could show you. After it has sufficiently formed the pellicle, he moves it all to cookie sheets, and then he puts the cookie sheets in the back of the truck to drive them down to the smoker because he finds that easier than going back and forth a bunch of times. It also gives him a work table to put all the fish onto racks. So he's already got all the stuff we're canning in the smoker, and now he's working on getting all of the candied salmon in the smoker. the lower the racks, the hotter and more smoke. So he's putting the salmon candy closer to the fire and the other stuff up higher. Our smoker is super basic. It's a bunch of sheets of plywood with an old trapper style wood stove, and over where the chimney would be, there's a little pan that is how he can kind of choke it and control how much air it's getting, like a damper, I guess it would be. So he starts with some dry wood, but then he's got a bucket of soaked apple wood. Whenever people are cutting down trees, if we can, we go and we snag all the wood so that we can smoke with apple wood. Here we can also smoke with alder. It's going to really depend locally what is available to you. Obviously, a lot of people are going to have smokers that take pellets or chips. We just go for the most basic, old school way, friends, because there's not a lot of moving parts to break. He used to get the fire going and get it super smoky and then put the fish in or the pork in or whatever we're smoking, but he kept getting majorly smoked out. So now he loads it and then he lights the fire. About every 45 minutes to an hour, he's gonna have to stoke up the fire. From the deck on our house, he just watches the smoke from coming out of the smoker, out of the top. This whole box will be filled with smoke. And as soon as the smoke starts to die off, he goes down and loads it up with some more dry and wet wood. So he's got some heat, but also some smoldering going on there. And it's a balance, and you're gonna have to learn your smoker. That's the best I can tell you there. The smoker has died down. There's no more piles of smoke coming out of it. This has been 2 rounds of smoke on the canned fish, or the fish for canning. So now it's time to take it out, and we won't be canning it for a little bit yet. We're waiting for our friends to come, but it could immediately go in jars right now. Every time Marius loads the smoker for this candied salmon, he bastes it with just straight, pure maple syrup, friends. It's a labor of love, but it is a delicious labor of love.
Definitely worth the effort.
So we've got 3 different types of fish here. He's currently basting the white spring, right?
Yep.
White spring salmon is like albino.
It's just white flesh.
It's white flesh instead of like this color. Is this a spring salmon?
Yep.
Yeah, so this is
the difference.
Regular spring salmon, and that's white spring salmon. Spring salmon used to be prejudiced against. They would throw it back, or they'd get drastically less at market for it. And there is still people who don't like it because it's a richer, fattier fish. But friends, we're here for the fat. If you have followed our family for a minute, you know that we're not scared of real fats from real food. So white spring is a treat. And actually this white spring, we are doing for friends of ours, but we'll be sure to try some ourselves. So then we have the regular spring salmon that's ours, and then this is pink salmon. The stuff that is getting canned is chum salmon, which is also a fattier fish. We haven't done it as candied before. We've talked about doing it, but it makes a really nice canned fish. So it doesn't really go through very much maple syrup. Would you say half the jar?
This amount will probably go through a whole jar.
A whole jar. So, maybe a pint. But this is...
Depends how much you put on.
All of this is 18 pounds of salmon being made into salmon candy. So it's a significant amount of fish. For the candied salmon, do you baste it? Like when you think it's done, you then just take it out, you don't baste it again?
Yep.
And about how long?
Once I know when it's close to being done, I'll baste it one last time, and then that'll be it.
How long does this take in our smoker?
The last stuff we did took about 6 hours.
And how do you know when it's done?
Just looking at it and feeling it.
So
eating it.
And yeah, looking at it,
Break a piece open and try it.
if you do that test, I don't know if you guys know that one where you hold different fingers together. Like this is a rare steak, this is a medium steak, medium rare, medium well done. You're looking at not well done, but I'd say like holding these fingers together, and then you touch the flesh. Oh,
You don't want it too dry.
We're gonna finish.
You touch this flesh here, and that's the firmness it should be, holding these fingers together, if that makes sense. But when you bust it open, you will see. I will show you. It's all done and out of the smoker. Marius ended up basting this 5 times altogether. Guys, this is so delicious. I wish you had smell-o-vision. Our house smells so good right now. Now I'm gonna try and show you here what it looks like. So you want the flesh to be the same color throughout. It's the same as like when you cook a steak and it goes from brown to red. You want the flesh, it's not gonna be brown or red on salmon flesh, but it's gonna be the same color throughout. You'll be able to tell if some is not fully cooked, and the outside bits are a little more crusty, like in a really good way. They're not actually crusty. I'm butchering this, but guys, all the kids were flocking around me wanting to eat it. It is so good. Now we're gonna cool it and vacuum seal it in bags and store it in the freezer for winter. Have a good day, friends.